You've imagined it before, the numbers matching, the rush of disbelief, your entire life changing in under 10 seconds. But here's the strange part. Most people who actually win the lottery end up right back where they started, or worse, and the real answer is far stranger than bad luck or bad decisions. Researchers Scott Hankins, Mark Hoekstra, and Paige Marta Skiba studied nearly 35,000 winners of Florida's Fantasy 5 game. They compared people who won under $10,000 to people who won 50,000 to 150,000. You'd expect the bigger winners to be safer years later. They weren't. Big winners were just as likely to end up bankrupt as small winners. Not immediately, it took a few years, but the pattern held. Why would more money lead to the same collapse as barely any money at all? Your brain has a setting and it resets constantly. In 1978, psychologists Philip Brickman, Dan Coates, and Ronnie Janoff Bowman interviewed 22 major lottery winners and compared their happiness to ordinary neighbors and to people who had recently become paralyzed in accidents. The winners were barely happier than their neighbors, and they took noticeably less pleasure from small everyday moments, like reading a magazine, than people who never won anything. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. Your brain measures happiness relative to what you're used to. Win a fortune and your baseline rises with it. A nice dinner stops feeling special. An ordinary Tuesday starts to feel flat. You're not less capable of joy. Your bar for joy just moved. Now put that next to the financial pattern. A windfall doesn't just fail to make you happier for long, it resets what feels normal to spend. Financial professionals call the confusion that follows sudden wealth syndrome, guilt around spending, pressure from relatives, a life that no longer fits the one you had. The Florida researchers found something almost counterintuitive. Big winners were less likely than small winners to file for bankruptcy in the first 2 years. New money buys time, but by year 3, that protection was gone. By year 5, big winners were catching up to small winners fast. The cash didn't prevent collapse, it postponed it. A related study of Swedish lottery winners led by Eric Lindqvist, Robert Östling, and David Cesarini found something nuanced. Winners did feel more satisfied when they stepped back and evaluated their life as a whole, but that boost barely touched their day to day mood. The bigger picture looked better on paper, while an ordinary Tuesday felt exactly the same. Picture what that means in practice. You win, bills disappear, stress evaporates, but your spending baseline is quietly rising the whole time, exactly as Brickman's research predicted. The upgrades that once felt luxurious start to feel required, while the psychological cushion gets spent down to match your new normal instead of your old one. By year 4 or 5, you're often back where you started, now also carrying the weight of having lost something you once had. This isn't a story about recklessness. When researchers looked at big winners who eventually filed for bankruptcy, their debt and assets looked strikingly similar to small winners who filed. It wasn't the size of the money that predicted the outcome, it was something about how people relate to money at all. Extra cash didn't fix the underlying pattern, it just delayed when that pattern came back. Most winners also have zero experience managing large sums because most people never need that skill. Then, in a single afternoon, it becomes urgently necessary with no training and no learning curve. A relative asks for a loan they never would have mentioned before. A friend's business idea seems worth funding. Each decision feels reasonable alone. Nobody decides on day one to lose a fortune. It happens through 100 small yeses from someone who was never taught when to say no. You don't need to win millions to recognize this. Think about the last raise or bonus you got. For a few weeks, everything felt easier. Then, almost without noticing, your spending quietly adjusted to match it. Your brain wasn't being careless. It was doing exactly what Brickman described in 1978, recalibrating your baseline until the extraordinary became your new ordinary. That's the real reason so many lottery winners end up broke.